Greetings, dear listeners, friends, colleagues, and everybody else that is tuning in. This is Comesa Radio Podcast Live. Welcome again to our series show. We are continuing about coaching models. Today, we're talking about the clear coaching model with coaches. Sedi Manthoko, I can see she's already here, and Coach Setumo Chiloane. So it's gonna be a wonderful conversation, and I can see some colleagues are asking where is the link. So Sedi, welcome. You can relax. I can see you. Let me help my colleagues receive the link because it looks like they are not able to log in. We can't continue without our fellow coaches. So let me give them the link. Every time I open my podcast, it looks like as if I'm creating people as the host. Just check on your side. I'm not sure. Let me send Coach Tosi the link. Actually, I'm going to send it onto the Coaches Learning Forum so that everybody can also access it. So maybe she's having a wrong link. That is possible. So I'm sending that to her. Yeah, that should be join us here. That should resolve it now. The colleagues should be able to join us. I've sent it to them. Let me see who else is able to join. Yeah, I can see Coach Setumo's here, so it's wonderful. So, yeah, welcome once again. My name is Sam Zima. I'm your anchor. I'm your host. I'm going to facilitate the conversation with the colleagues. And this is the Comesa Radio Podcast Live. It's thriving on Comesa Podcasting Network, a member of Comesa Global Online Channels. And we are talking about coaching models. We have been doing that for a while now. And this is our monthly, which actually appears to be like weekly. This is our Comesa Coaches Learning Forum. This is the forum at which nobody is perfect. We are all learners. But for today, our experts, our subject matter experts, our coaches that were charged with the responsibility of researching the model, clear model, are here. That is Coach Sedi Manthoko and Coach Setumo Ananias Chiloane. We'll get to know them better. These shows are built on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. We have started on the 6th of September with the STAR coaching model with coaches Ramavaka Chimule and Krista Hendricks. And on the 13th, we spoke about change coaching model with Coach Tosi Mpanle. On the 22nd of September, we had Coach Rapula Mudibane talking about fuel coaching model. And she was joined by Coach Ulrike Pretorius talking about communication in workplace coaching, specifically focusing on active listening and effective listening. And I had said that during our previous session that we will invite Ulrike back to exhaust that topic. And then we recently had session 4 on the 27th of September with Coach Prof. Sesh Paruk, looking at Achieve Coaching Model. And today, the 4th of October, as stated, we are going to be talking about clear coaching model. Colleagues, Sedi and Dumi, you are welcome to share the show with colleagues out there. I've shared it onto the Coaches Learning Forum group.
Hi, everyone. My name is Setumo Chiloane. I am an executive coach, an accredited training provider, and a business consultant. I'm very much excited to present with my colleague, Sedi, to present clear model to you today. Thank you.
Beautiful. You can mute yourself, Tumo, when you are not talking because we're getting feedback from your line. Are you able to mute yourself? Yeah, thank you so much. Great start. Thank you so much. Sedi, a little bit about yourself and your business and what type of coaching are you offering?
Good evening, everybody. Hi, colleagues. Hello, Sam. Hello, Setumo. My name is Sedi, and I am a leadership emotional intelligence performance accelerator coach. What that means is I help leaders to develop and master the emotional intelligence so as to use that to contribute to the performance of their teams, their own performance, as well as the organization, so that's the type of coaching I'm into. I am also working a lot with students, helping the young adults through school as they navigate through life and school challenges that they face are many. And that's what I enjoy and do on a very regular basis.
Wow. So you using your coaching to support students to deal with their studies challenges, right?
Yes, I do as well. Ever since COVID, so we've always had challenges. Students youngsters by design as they grow up, they get very challenged when they hit certain ages. Now, since COVID, the challenges have quadrupled or even more so. And it's become so much more important for me. And I see the value in it as I started to work with them and help them to navigate through the new type of challenges that have become even more difficult. Even for adults, we find it difficult ourselves.
Wonderful. We're getting some noises in the background. If you can ask the family members to keep it down a bit.
Thank you.
Stumo, what for yourself do you want to share with from your side? You want to share with the listeners the type of? I know you mentioned a couple of things you do, but in terms of coaching, what type of clients do you work with?
I mostly work with executive coaching. I work with executives and managers in the world of work.
Yeah.
So also I see the coaching beneficial also when I do training, especially leadership training, because I engage also with the models of coaching when doing the training. Yes.
Yeah. Am I right that at some stage you also worked with the MBA students from a mentoring point of view?
Yes, definitely. For almost 8 years, I worked with Henley Business School MBA students in coaching and mentoring them.
Yes. Those are the young executives, eh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So when you can mute yourself, because your line is the one that gives us feedback. Once you are done, you can always just mute it. I don't know why it's giving us feedback, but we can manage it that way. So it's amazing that we all are coaches, but I don't know whether it's by fate, whatever. You find yourself focusing on a particular kind of clients, and the same applies to me. And I think why I decided to specialize on executive coaching is because I found myself working more and more with executives. I don't know whether it has to do with my perspective, meaning that I have spent a lot of time in corporate, and therefore you have a way of penetrating that market. Maybe we can also reflect on that a bit, that is it our choice as to what type of clients we're going to end up working with? Or is it just who we are that we find ourselves? I mean, Sedi, you coaching the students. Stumo, you coaching, Sedi's coaching it looks like high school students. Stumo, you're working with the MBA graduates who are the young executives. So I don't know what have you ever reflected on that? Because one of the things that we encourage coaches to do is somewhere down the line you're going to have to specialize in a particular type of clients. What do you think about that perspective or that view, Sedi?
I think you are right in saying that you are drawn by the kind of person that you are, or your interests. And I would like to believe that that is the best way to go about it, because that means you work towards your strengths, or you work towards your passion. For me, especially working with the young ones, hang on for me, please. Sorry about that. For me, my experience working with the young ones is because I have raised teenagers, and I saw how my own daughter struggled in high school with challenges with the peer pressure, with bullying, with fitting in, and how that impacted on her performance in school. So that became a point of interest for me, and it's one of the things that I want to have less young ones going through high school and early on in tertiary experiencing the challenges that she did. Because, when you see it, you think to yourself, oh, I wish I could be this, I wish I could do that. And now this profession grants me an opportunity to actually do that.
Mm, mm. And Coach Stumo, how did you end up being involved with Henley Business School, assisting their MBA students? How did that come about?
Okay. I graduated from Henley Business School myself, and after I graduated, I was actually approached by the dean to ask me to come and engage with the battling. It started with the battling MBA students, battling in a sense that they actually were battling to balance the work-life balance. So my coaching started there with this, and I grew and developed more. Where they said, now let's not only focus on the battling students, let's focus on everyone. And these people, these students are actually executives. They are CEOs, they are COOs. They hold very senior positions in their workplace. So my engagement with them, I find it very interesting because it's not just students, it's people who are already there and they see the benefit of coaching. And even after they graduate from Henley, they become my private clients.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We'll explore the next. And are you still working with Henley right now?
Since COVID, there was a lot of isolation because now the one-on-one was reduced, and that space actually we are rebuilding it again.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. That is good stuff. I also coach the MBA students at Johannesburg Business School. We give them 8 sessions in the first year, and I can tell you, it makes a huge difference. And I think I like this part of this conversation because for me, what we will end up achieving as this community is that we will end up knowing each one of us areas of specialization, and that way we will be able to respond to our clients and be able to package our solutions. So that's why it's always very important to know where you gravitate to. And I can see Coach Dolores that she's passionate about working with HR executives. And again, that is her perspective, as I was saying. It's good to know that because the reality is, although you cannot use your coaching to as if it's consulting, but the understanding of the context makes it very easy for you to hold a coaching conversation, right?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to Coach Rabula. I can see he has just joined, and I think I'm sure you can read the comment from Dolores there that you are correct, Sedi. It is more passion, and you are big why. I like that. Simon Sinek's why fury, the big why. Is what, and when we do that, I think you are at your best because that is almost like your calling or your purpose, as Coach Dolores is saying. And again, when then people know that we are going to Coach Dolores because she works with HR professionals, meaning that she is engaged with that context on an ongoing basis, and she will be able to ask the right type of questions and also sometimes have empathy towards them because she understands what they go through. But anyway, without any waste of time, I have thank you very much, Coach Setumo and Sedi, for preparing this for this session. We're gonna hear from you what you came up with as you were researching this model. I'm aware that both of you have been working with the clear model long before even we asked you to research it. But for now, share with us what the background about this model before we go into the details about it. Who
Okay.
came up with this model and how did it come about? How did it start?
Yes, and so we definitely understand that Peter Hawkins came up with the model, and this was around about the 80s. And what is wonderful about it is that it makes coaching very simple and easy to follow, and it really makes the path for growth very clear for the client or the person that you are coaching. And the model is a five-step or five-stage model. And what it aims to do is to achieve lasting transformational change. And it doesn't only achieve the goal, the now immediate goal, but it also helps the client to transition for the long term. And that is one of the biggest biggest points of attraction for me that really makes this model a go-to model for me. And yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on. Yeah. So what was Peter Hawkins working on when he decided to develop this model? Did he go for the development of a model, or was he working on something and then he realized that there could be a model out of here that other people can benefit from? Did you get that?
Yes, I got that question. In actual fact, he was working on something else, and it became easy for him to come across this to put this one together. If memory serves me right, he did try to do. I don't remember how he started, but I know that he developed quite a number or tried a few theories up until he landed on this one. Help me out there, Setumo.
You mentioned something in the document that you shared with me, coaches, that you found the clear model to be easy for you in adhering to the Comenza and ICF core competence. Will you want to talk a little bit about that?
And that is why I love it, because as I coach, the way that it is structured, the way that it leads the conversation, or it helps you to lead the conversation. You by default are able to demonstrate the behavioral or the core competencies by both Commence and ICF. And as we go through the model, we're going to really highlight which competencies those speak to.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we will come back to this because there are a couple of points on the introduction to the model itself that I would like us to come back to because I think they are very rich for coaching for us coaches. But perhaps maybe let me allow you guys to go through the 5 steps of the model. And then we'll maybe I'm rushing and asking questions that you are going to unpack as you go through the 5 steps.
Are you there, Setumo? Okay.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I've been battling to hear. There has been some challenges with the network, but
Okay.
yeah. What I like about the model is that it is designed in such a way that the same process is used in each session of coaching program.
Yes.
So you can't say I'm done with it. That's why I'm able to use it even when I do the training facilitation. So
Yeah.
I will start with the first letter C. It stands for contract. I start each session with a conversation about how we can work together, myself and the coachee. What the coachee will like to get out of the session, how the coachee will know when they are making progress, and remember basic rules around coaching. The contract may be revised during the session. Example of questions that I use in this stage, at a contract stage, will be asking the coachee, what will you like to focus on today? What will you like the outcome of our conversation to be? How will you know if you have a good session today? What will you like me as a coach do today to help you? This is
Yes, Timo.
I don't know, Sedi, if you want to add anything to that.
Yes, absolutely. And in addition to those questions that you can ask the client, I would like to maybe highlight which behavioral standards we would be talking to here, or core competencies rather, as commonly known. For ICF, the contracting stage helps you to demonstrate establishing and maintaining relationships. And with Commensa, you are able to demonstrate the contracting bit. And yes, Sumo, you are right. It takes place at the beginning, and it can really be flexible, change. It's not cast in stone. So those core competencies are the ones that I noticed I'm able to consistently demonstrate when I'm at this stage of the contracting.
It's very interesting, and thanks for bringing up the two organizations. Comenza and ICF competencies are very much alike. I think there's a sharing of notes there. It's just the wording that is being used. And I've seen how you, in the document you shared with me, how you actually use them together. And when you look at them, really is the same thing. But while we are on the contracting phase, I want to share with you I wouldn't call it a frustration, but it's always a challenge. As you have, and I like what Stum is saying, that actually you can use the model in every session. It's a very simple, and it's actually very much like the GROW model. But what I find, as you build a relationship with clients, right? And then you come to session after session, and I normally will ask the clients to check in, right? Which is basically for me to establish the level where they are. While I'm also going to transition from checking in into contracting. But what I find happening is when the coaches are checking in, they are inclined to actually check in with the issue already. Have you experienced that?
Yes, I would say that is true. And isn't it interesting that perhaps under such instances, your C can also cover your check-in?
Yes, that is the point I was getting to, because we don't even say to our client, thank you, now let's contract or let's agree on one. We start the conversation, but you, at the back of your mind, you are holding the model and you say, I want to find out that we will start this session having agreed what we want to achieve, which is basically the contracting. But I often extract that out of the checking in. because in many, and why I do that is in many cases they will start telling you what is bothering them, and sometimes they just want to jump into it, and then it tells you how anxious they are to resolve whatever they have to resolve. Often when you say, okay, well, hold on, let's first check in, they tend to be feeling like you are shutting them up. I don't know whether you do experience that. Coaches online as well, please share with us your experience, because my checking in is always integrated with the contracting, because you can't delay them from actually starting to tell you what they want you to solve, help them solve. Stumo, come in there as well. Let us hear what you're experiencing.
Yes, you're right, Sam. You don't start the conversation with the coachee to say, now this is a contracting stage. The check-in, it set the motion. It really paved the way for you to have a clear contracting phase. So I find it very useful when I start with the check-in, because it put the coachee at ease and allow the coachee to tell what is in their mind, and when you start with contracting, it just become a flow.
So are you agreeing with Sedi that we might as well say that, because we want to perfect this model for our own use, right? That we might as well consider the C contracting also to include checking in.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Okay, beautiful.
Because you have to set the motion, you have to prepare for that contracting stage with a check-in.
Sedi?
And really just to expand on it, to demonstrate how flexible and how broad it can get, you could ask a question about what concerns you about such and such that's taking place, that the coach is raising. The client is raising. So there again, your C takes another form, and it becomes coaching issues, it becomes concerns. In the performance coaching context, I have definitely used it and called it coaching issues for discussion.
Or the agenda for today.
Or the agenda for today.
Yeah. Although agenda sounds very serious, because as Tumo was saying, you want to face people into the mode of wanting to engage in the conversation. So I'm glad that, but you haven't answered my question where I say that, what do you do if you don't want the client to jump into the issues without you finding out how the day was, what emotional level they are in, how you must handle them, because you don't know their fragility, because they haven't told you what has been happening. Maybe there's been a messy situation. They just want to jump into it. They don't even give you the context. And you will want to slow them a little bit. How will you go about that challenge, Sedi?
I would want to help the client to break it down. So I would definitely say to the client at the beginning of the conversation that we are going to start with checking in. Sometimes, and most of the time, I do that to demonstrate how we are checking in. You can either set the scene and say, we're checking in with gratitude. What are you grateful for today? And what has been challenging for you today? You can set the scene at the checking in, and it would be good to also ask your client to take you through what they want to address today after they have given you the whole rundown of whatever is at the top of their mind. So for us as coaches, we have that advantage of being able to extrapolate, those key issues. And we are also very discerning, because then we can make a note to say, I'm going to talk to her about this if they're bringing those issues up in your check-in. And then you can use those to say, am I right in saying that some of these things are the issues that you would like us to contract and address today. That's what I would do. I haven't had it as passionate as you make it sound, Sam. But if I were to be in such a situation, this is definitely the approach that I would take.
Okay, let me put it this way, and I'll come to the coach Dolores' point there because I think it's fantastic. The coach is sitting there, is breathing deeply, and is twisting the neck and holding the shoulders. What will that tell you at the very beginning of the checking in? And how will you help there without actually telling them what you are seeing and observing? What sort of activity do you think you can do?
It sits outside. For me, it sits outside the model. I do have a centering activity that I help the customer or the client
Why is it
go
sitting
through.
outside the model? Because the model is just a model, it's not your coaching. You are just using it to enable your coaching.
So I'm saying that because I cannot say at this stage I
Yeah,
engage
because I'm trying
centering.
to avoid a situation where a model becomes a hammer. Sometimes we
Yeah,
have to
I
throw
hear
away our
you.
mortal because in this case, this person is very stressed. The neck is heavy, the shoulders are heavy, they are tense. The mortal will
Yeah.
not help you. So basically, we should throw the mortal away for now and try to do something to make them calm a bit. What do you think
Yes.
needs to happen there?
Look, as a coach, you need to be in control of the agenda. The coachee always will want to jump into the real matter. So your check-in will prepare the coachee to relax and understand that this agenda that it will be followed and all the concerns will be addressed. So
what type of activity can you expose them for a few seconds for
you
them
can
to be?
start with a topic about what is happening in the economical space, in the politics, in sport, just to relax the mind. Once after the check-in, then that is where the contracting will kick in, setting the agenda for the day, what need to be achieved, what are the issues right from the beginning. But you need to be in control, otherwise you'll be all over.
Yeah. Now, coaches, I'm going to challenge you because this is our learning platform, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of powerful things we can do with our clients that we don't use, and we lose the opportunity. When somebody comes into a session is so tense and is stressed and is emotionally draining, you almost cannot really coach because the person is not well, right?
Yes.
There are a lot of tools you can use, like breathing exercise, sitting exercises, mindfulness meditation, playing a little bit of a soft music, a silence, and all those type of things. Because the tendency is to engage conversationally. We have to coach with all our senses. Observes, you might feel the energy of the client being heavy on you. And therefore, the work is no longer on the client, is on you together with the client, and make them realize that they've brought a heavy energy into a session and ask them why. What has happened? Right? What do
Very
you think?
valuable. Yes. I call that a centering exercise. The breathing techniques
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how to
There's a lot
connect
of
into your
tools,
inner
and
self.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to say
Mm,
that colleagues, we have to respond to what is in front of us, not what we know.
absolutely.
And that's why we're doing these learning forums, because if you haven't learned how to put people through a breathing exercise to breathe through their chest or through their what do you call it,
The belly
I don't call it
button.
stomach, the belly, or you haven't taught them to access their emotions, to use soft music in the background, all those things are techniques that we're supposed to master, because our job is not to make the situation. If somebody, Coach Tumo, comes in and he has been really stressed today because of work problems and dynamics, that person is not ready for you to engage them cognitively. They might actually do very well with mindfulness exercise, sitting exercises, and all those type of things, right? And that you must pick up right at the checking in point, not by listening to them, but also by observing and feeling your own energy that is triggered by their low energy. I don't know whether the coaches on the platform have inputs to make, because I love this model. It's very close to grow model. But if we just hammer with it, sometimes it won't help, because people must be ready, right?
But sometimes there are hidden emotions that you don't see as a coach.
Well, that's the challenge, unfortunately. I mean, that's why you need to listen to your own emotions as a coach. Because when you are connected with your client, you know when they walk into the room and the energy is not right. If you can't hear it, that means you yourself are not able to access your own emotions. And you can't coach if you can't access your own emotions as a coach. Because then it means you are not using your head, heart, and gut and your own feelings, because it's a partnership, right? Let's hear what the colleagues are saying. This is fascinating. Sorry, colleagues, I'm delaying you coming out of C, because I love that contracting C. But I see that Coach Dolores is saying, I find that it's best when you intertwine the checking in and contracting together by framing the coaching work at the beginning. That's Coach Dolores. And then she continues to say, yes, great point. Emotions are coached through the body. Yeah, exactly. That is that. So sometimes you are even allowed as a coach to say to a client, as you were talking, or as I was observing, I feel heaviness in me, and I don't know whether it's just me or there's something that you are carrying that is actually interfering with the connection of energy between me and you. And then you will be amazed, the person start to tell you things that they wouldn't have been able to know how to start to tell you what has happened. And Tosi is saying, so interesting, we said coaching is it counseling, but I'm picking up some element of therapy or pre-counseling in what's saying about music. No, not really, Coach Tosi. It's not that. It is calming type of interventions. The key thing is what you use it for. For instance, if you take people through mindfulness exercise, where you take people through the body scan from the head to the toes, you are wanting them to pick up spots on their body that they are tense. When you take them through the body check. But a very good point. We have to be not to fall into therapy. But remember, this is a client. It's only for this session that you experience. It's not like going to be repeatedly. Once it becomes repetitive, then you need counseling and therapy. Coach Dolores, your input there will be valuable. I respond to it. Where in your body do you feel this? There you are. Very powerful coaches, and I think let's accept if we lack those type of tools, let's go and find them, because they are very helpful even for you, because you can't always forcing things when things are not, the timing is not right, the clients are not in the right space. You will feel heaviness and you will feel like you are not helping the client. But anyway, another discussion for another time. We'll come back to that. But thank you so much. And I like the participation by our colleagues on the line. Let me allow you to march forward. Any comments, any reflection, Coach Tumo and Sedi?
Thank you
Yes,
so
Sedi.
much for that, Sam, because really we really need to allow ourselves to take on and use the tools effectively. It's no use having a toolbox that contains only one tool, or not having a toolbox at all and having only one tool, and you can't use it everywhere. So really, thank you for bringing that up, because absolutely very important to consider. Thank you.
Great stuff. Do you want to continue with the elements? The next one is L, right?
Yes, let's do that. That is where we listen. So, in terms of the core competencies, and I promised to cover them as I go through, there for ICF, I noticed that there is the listens effectively and evokes awareness, and for Commensa, communicating as well as building trust and rapport. Here, at the listening stage, the coach gives the client an opportunity to speak, and they also prompt them to do so by asking questions. The client doesn't just speak. And at this stage, the coach wants to focus on what the client is saying as well as what they are not saying. Going back to a little bit of what you were speaking about, if the body language, the the way that the energy that the client is carrying and bringing into the room to fully understand what is being communicated.
So that communication is beyond the words.
It's beyond what you hear, it is sitting everywhere in between. And as a coach, you want to harness that skill, hone in and really be good at listening. And you need to also demonstrate that you are listening, and you want to respond effectively to show that you are understanding and hearing them. And sometimes you want to also ask them questions. You can also listen by reiterating what you think you heard, which is also echo listening, and checking for understanding really by doing that. And here at this stage, you can also break down or deconstruct the client's issue and probe to you're asking either closed questions or open-ended questions, depending on what you are aiming to achieve, so that they can really get to the truth, to tell you what it is that is bothering them.
Beautiful. So you must have enjoyed. Yeah, carry on to me.
Yeah, I was saying I agree. Listening is not only about the verbal listening, it's also to pick up the feelings, to look at the gestures as well. So it's not just only about what the person say vocally.
And I guess also feeding back to the client what you are actually picking up, right?
Yes, definitely.
And also at this stage, you want to listen in such a way that you allow yourself as a coach to observe silence, not being awkward, but when you have asked the client a question, being intuitive, being discerning as a coach, you know what you don't know for no, but you can discern what that there's more to it than what the client is bringing on. So you will ask a question and you want to be quiet and allow the client to think about it, allow them to take the moment to answer. And this was one of the things that I found myself struggling with, because I thought that when you ask a question, the answer should be there. And with coaching, you learn that you want to be fully engaging and digging deep, because you want to offer lasting change. You want to offer the client an opportunity to problem solve. So listening, being silent, very important.
I like that. Actually, they said, ask the question. It doesn't matter whether it get answered or not, as long as it moves the client the way you wanted to move them. It might result
Absolutely.
in a silence, meaning that you have
Yeah.
made the client to reflect deeply about this situation. And then you may come back and say, wow, I see you chose not to answer this question, but definitely you did some work inside. What is it making you to access?
And it may also result in an outburst of an emotional reaction. That too shows that the client really dug deep. You were able to tap, open that lock, and the client now can start doing some
Do
healing,
you
doing
agree
some
with
growth.
me coaches, that actually there's nothing hard, there's no need for us as coaches to try any harder than just holding the space and really allow the clients to be in that space. Well, you make them so, because I'm thinking that even with these models, as we follow them, we shouldn't be hard at doing that. We should actually be just holding the space and allowing the clients to find themselves in that space where you have sort of like directed them to. If it's about wanting to use the listening to access their emotions or for them to access their emotions. So it can be one question or three questions, it doesn't matter. But if it makes them access something that they were not aware of, then you have done your job. Because it's not about you, how many questions you asked, how good those questions were formulated, or whether you remembered all those questions that you memorized. It's not about that. It's about you intentionally saying, I want to use questions to unlock something. And if you manage to do that, and then you shut up for the entire 5 to 10 minutes, and the client carries on, and as they carry on, you are able to extract issues that you put them on the table for them. I don't know whether, because sometimes I'm in coaching session, I don't even remember what model I'm using, but I know that there are models around me. Because if the model is not called for, I'm not going to use it. And when it's called for and you know about it, you will know. You will find yourself accessing that tool in your toolbox without even thinking or remembering a book that you want to recommend to this person that is no longer even about the model, it's a resource. Coaches?
Mm, mm. And that's the grand opportunity that we find ourselves in as coaches, being able to help the clients in all of those ways, as well as being able to demonstrate empathy when we do this. This is a moment as the client speaks and you're listening. You are able to connect with them, and you want to show them that you believe them, that you understand their context, their identity, their environment, experiences, everything that they deem important is they are letting you in on these things that are bothering them. And you want to show it by saying it. And if you are having a face-to-face intervention with your client, there are some opportunities that allow you to touch the client, to demonstrate or to gesture in such a way that you are showing that you understand or you are connecting.
Coach Tosi, I like it. Coach Tosi is still insisting to say, well, we said it is not counseling, but I always see the overlap. Yeah, yeah. Coach Tosi, yeah, I actually know what you're trying to say, but counseling is a function. I mean, it's almost like intervention of some sort. the elements of calming people down. If every session, there is every session where a client is hectic and you have to calm them down, and it's repeatedly 2, 3, session 1, session 2, session 3, absolutely, that person needs counseling. Here we are talking about once in a while, a person is thrown out of balance and they can't focus because they've been rattled. And therefore, for that day, you say, breathe. Let's do some breathing exercise. Breathe deep and follow the breathing to end, and then ask them, how do you feel? And then they are a little bit calmer. Then you can then take them through the coaching. Yes, absolutely. If it repeats itself, that's the key word here is it's repetitive. Every time people come to a session, they are rattled and they are not able to actually focus on the coaching because something in their life is not right. I don't want to ignore the inputs that are coming into the platform, coaches. You are welcome to also to respond. I just wanted to once again to clarify this point that Tosi is raising, that this calming exercise, mindfulness, meditation, breathing exercise is counseling. I'm saying no, it's not counseling. And your inputs, please.
I'm not sure if Setumo is there and if he's struggling on his
Yeah,
side.
let's hear your input.
All right. I agree that coaching and counseling are absolutely separated. And as coaches, we want to be deliberate about um, those lines. We don't want to blur the lines between coaching
Yes.
and counseling. And while a technique might fit in a certain context as well, but what happens in the bigger scheme of things or throughout the process of counseling versus of coaching are different. And that is why I can get why Coach Tosi is saying this. It is an element that can be borrowed in between, but when we do this and we help the client to connect with themselves, to be present in the moment, and to be able to um, self-regulate their emotional feelings or their emotional state, we are not thereafter going to start counseling because we are definitely not counseling. We want to prepare them to connect with the now.
We are not trained to be counselors, therefore we can't pretend to be we can't pretend to be offering counseling because we see a need for it. And so it can happen that the client needs counseling and we pick it up, and that's why we have to refer them to a counselor.
And that's part of our contracting, right?
Yes.
The client coach relationship contract. It's included there that if I see that there's a need for such and such, even medical help, even a rehabilitation center, for instance, for somebody that might be overindulging in a substance, we want to say to the person, here is such a center, or ask them to go and look for one. So we don't want to play in spaces where we don't belong. Absolutely.
And Setumo, you can come in.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is a coach's call to see the level of the mental disturbance if the client needs to be referred to counseling. So
Yes.
if it's a once in a while, we you know, at some stage, everyone becomes at a level where you need just the little intervention where take a breath and all that, the way you explained that you can calm the client. But if it persists, it becomes something that happens every session, then it's no longer your expertise to take
It's no
care
longer
of
your
it.
terrain.
Yes. Yeah.
And by your professional code of practice,
Yes.
you are expected to walk away from it and refer this person to a specialist who is a therapist or a counselor.
Yes, and also with your experience, you'll be able to pick it up if it's just once off, or is it something that is a problem to be taken care of?
You see, the thing is that is where you are riding on a very dangerous zone. If these things happen repeatedly and you continued coaching and you do not pick up, and a damage happens to a person or colleagues or a company, when then there is a litigation, you can actually, as a coach, to be called forward to say, have you not observed this situation? Let's take, for instance, a situation of suicide. When somebody is suicidal and you continue coaching them and you don't refer them to a counseling until the person commits suicide. And then they said, but this person was undergoing coaching. You can be in serious trouble.
Agree. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, definitely that can be a serious problem if you don't take it where it belongs.
Yeah. One of the good days, we will also talk about the code of conduct. It's the same thing as when you're coaching somebody and you see that they are involved in activities that are very dangerous to them and their colleagues, and you don't raise it with the company that referred them without disclosing the confidentiality. You can be held liable as a coach to have not done anything about it.
And that is true. It also
That's a
protects
topic on
us.
its own, and as a specialist topic, we could actually get some specialists, the highly specialized coaches, to help us in that, because we don't want ending up destroying ourselves with this profession by ignoring these issues, because you are dealing with people's lives. The people don't tell you what they are going through at home or at work. They are bottling it, and they just come to sessions, and you just continue going around, but you are not accessing the inner issues. And you don't ask for it. That's why there is supervision in coaching. You can take these issues to a supervision session and ask for help from other senior coaches without disclosing the confidentiality. And I think that's one of the code of practice by federations. Let me just check in the chat post. Our colleagues are very busy, which I like very much. I agree. It is also about the coaching flow. It's like a dance. can't sit on a model when it is not serving the client. And I think it's for that reason, Coach Dolores, that we are exposing ourselves to all these various models, because all these models were established by coaches confronted with particular situations. And therefore, they are like elements within our toolbox. If one model doesn't help you and you know another model that can help, use it by all means. And then I think Dolores continues, it is not counseling. When a client is not in an emotional state to access their best resources, as a coach, you need to assess whether they require to be referred to a therapy or counseling before you can embark on coaching. Exactly for the reason that, as we said before, coaching is about positivity. It's about building positive energy and helping people to deal with the challenges of the future. We can't go and rectify the damage that was caused in the past. That's why therapy comes in. We can learn from the past if a person has recovered, has been assisted, but we cannot, if the damage has happened and the person is traumatized and need repair, in inverted commas, so there are other professionals in the helping professions that we can work with, that we can refer the people to. And don't shy away to do that, because you may find that the appropriate solution for this client is counseling, but you are the one who picked up and you have helped the client, then they can come back to you later having recovered. And then you have a very healthy client, and you will gain a lot of credibility with that client than having tried to solve it while you are not qualified to do it. Great. Your model is making us talk things, coaches. Let's move on.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, carry on with E, letter E.
Yeah, we move on to the next letter E, which is explore. At this stage, as facts and feelings become clearer, as a coach, I start to ask probing and targeted questions in line with the approach to the coaching session as agreed in the contracting phase. My intentions are to help the coachee understand their emotional connections with the current state, what they want to change, and how they might emotionally connect with different future state. The questions asked are brief, where possible, no leading, and that they are devised with intention to help the coachee to learn. Often the best questions are those which neither the coach nor the coachee knows the answer. Yes. Sedi, do you want to come in?
Yeah. And with the explore or evaluate part of the model, this is really where the nuggets are picked up. This is the digging. This is where you challenge the client, and the the standards talk to evoking awareness. So as you can imagine, you want to make the client explore where they are in relation to the problem that they have presented. You want to evoke awareness to the possible solutions that are available that the client can find. And here you also want to facilitate, it helps you to facilitate growth. And as a coach, and this is what I like about it, it helps you to evaluate to maintain your coach presence, because as the client expresses themselves, you are also aware of how this impacts on you. But then responsibly, you want to evaluate your bias. You want to make sure that you are aware if whatever is being said, your prejudice, your stereotypes and judgment, and you want to have a good emotional self-regulation. And it's something, and that's why I like this model. It's something that helps you to not only apply it to the client, you also bring it in to yourself here at this stage. When the client is speaking and you're listening to them, you're also evaluating yourself. So that also helps you to grow as a coach. And it also helps you to evaluate your own ethical behavior, as well as how diverse and inclusive you are as a coach. And and this is the part again where it not only looks at or it helps the coach with what the, helping the client or moving the client from one point to another, but as the coach as well, you are also part of this co-creation, and you as an individual get an opportunity to grow because of this.
I can really confirm this. Out of every coaching session, every time I reflect, I pick up some new learnings. And I'm amazed by how it never ends, you know? So I think the point you are raising, we need to embrace this, that as we go into coaching sessions, we must remove this thinking that we are super beings and we are going to help poor clients, coaches. It is a partnership. That's why we have chemistry sessions. That's why we need to create rapport, build trust, and feel like their issues are your issues. And when you reach the level where you really feel the partnership, and you are open-minded about what you can learn through their issues, it is beautiful. I don't know about you, but and you know, sessions will humble you because you come into sessions thinking that, you know what, I'm ready. And the issues people have to deal with that they bring to your session throw you out. And if you are open-minded, it's okay to say, listen, I really at the moment don't know. I can only have empathy. I can imagine what you are going through. But do you mind if we take a moment to reflect on this? And there shouldn't be any pressure to try to know what they are dealing with. You just hold the space, allow them to reflect, and if the session has to be ended there and there, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is that we have great opportunity to learn from our sessions as long as we don't regard ourselves as super beings. Doesn't matter how highly qualified you are in coaching. Situations will always bamboozle you. But if you try to pretend to be a master coach, because maybe you are a master coach, you will find yourself being very disappointed a number of times. I don't know whether I'm just edifying to what you are saying, that the explore one is where you really also harvest some learnings as a coach.
And I have found myself going back home and really reflecting on sessions like what you're saying, what you're speaking about, and times when I may have allowed my super coachness, in inverted commas, to get the better of me. I would know, and my gut would tell me that I wasn't really serving the client as best as I should have. And I get to evaluate my own commitment and my own humility, because only when you can be truly humble, then you allow yourself the space to grow and to learn and to know that you won't have the answers. And that is amazing, because then you are able to go back and do the research, ask fellow colleagues like what we have on this great platform, and you are able to go and add value to yourself after having done the research, and then add value to your client after that.
Great stuff. Yeah, let's move on. You know, I'm watching time, and we are really indulging. But let's cover the remaining steps.
Right, and then that moves us to the action, the A part of the model, where we're considering the action to be taken, having listened and explored all that was said. And with regards to the behavioral standards or the core competencies, the ICF here talks to facilitating growth, again, also evoking awareness. And with Commensa, here you are designing actions and managing accountability. I like to keep bringing this in because um, at the beginning, I found myself always wanting to go back and see, oh, what are the core competencies that I need to display? And as I applied the model, I found that it really makes it easy for me to do that. So at this stage, you are really looking at the steps that the client is going to take in an effort to reach their goal. You want to ask the client questions to help them consider the actions that they should take, but then you are mindful not to guide or lead the client. And this is one pitfall that I found myself falling into quite a lot of times, rescuing the client when I would see that they're struggling to think of suitable actions to take. And it's important not to show the client the exit door. You want to ask the relevant questions for the client to find a way out themselves. That way, they take ownership, they are more committed to doing it. It's not a coach Sedi said, I need to do this. And they are really committed and bought in to making a notable change for themselves. And at this stage, you also want to invite your client to move forward, like you said about, again, going back to the topic of coaching versus counseling. Counseling looks at what has happened. With coaching, we want to be looking ahead, moving forward, looking futuristically, prompting the client on the resources that they have at their disposal, which they can tap into. You ask them the questions for them to think about those resources. Many times they know them, but they are not top of mind because of the overwhelming issue that they have. As many of us do, we make use of the SMART goal setting principles, another acronym, the SMART, making sure that the questions we're asking the client are specific or help them to develop a specific action plan. We help them to this plan needs to be measurable, it needs to be realistic, it needs to be achievable, and we definitely want to make sure that as we're discussing this action to take, it has a due by date. Some of those questions include who is going to do that, what is going to be done, what's going to be done, how is going to be done, when will it be done, and so forth. So yeah, that is what happens here. And this stage can actually take quite a bit of time, especially when you employ the SMART goal setting principles. I don't know if Setumo, you want to add.
Are these SMART goals setting? I will imagine that will have also taken place during the contracting phase, Setumo.
Yeah, I'm saying what I've noticed also is that actions also is often needed along the way. Most of the time, it's not only when you come to the A, but it just when you come to the action the stage, you just rephrase them and put them together. But as and when you go through these stages, actions come along the way.
Yes, and so you guys are saying that there might be certain actions that could be looked in the form of achievables of some sort, and therefore, if there are goals along each action, then the SMART can be used, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm also saying that for this coaching intervention, or this coaching session, you may also bring the SMART in the beginning if there's a clear goal that needs to be set, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I'm also wanting to say that coaches, I'm also wanting to say that I think it's okay to tear the models apart.
Yes.
You agree, Sedi?
I totally agree. In actual fact, we have the awesome privilege of then bringing in at any given point in time an appreciate coaching model.
Yeah.
We can fuel the conversation at any given point in time. So yes. We
Yeah.
are adaptable like that.
Yeah. The other point I want to hear from you about is, there's coaches have got different views around actions in coaching intervention. Some coaches will tell you that I hate it when my clients and I agree that they are going to do certain things, and then come the next session, you ask them, they haven't even done it. Or you give them a report and say, this is the report from our previous session. Please read it before the next session. You come into a session and you ask them, have you read the report? They say, I'm sorry, I didn't have time. And I in my coaching input form, which is normally for me when I'm coaching, I always have it here, because I find certain clients, for you to make a transition and to make a sheet, for them to make a sheet, you may want to contract on them really being honest and taking themselves serious and do what we agreed that they are going to do. Let's say, for instance, I asked them to go and read the Steve Covey's 7, what they call them, 7 what of highly effective people, because maybe it will enlighten you somehow. And then come the next session, they haven't even looked, they don't even know the color of the book, and yet they agree. Not that every session you must impose books, but I'm saying, if you realize this is a leader who really hasn't read about this book, and if they read it, they read one principle starting with the end in mind, which is basically being forward-looking. They can't even go and just search that section, and then they come the session, they've agreed, but they haven't done it. What do you do? Or do you believe very strongly that you don't care whether they do actions or they don't do action, as long as they come to a coaching session?
Oh no, you don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. As a coach,
But you also don't want your coaching session to become a homework giving sessions, because then they will run away.
Yeah, but then as a responsible coach, your responsibility is in helping the person to make progress. And if they are not willing, then you challenge the contract and you hold the coachee or the client accountable. You have to hold the client accountable to their own growth. You have to hold them accountable to the things that they said they will do.
Do you also are you also one of those coaches like I am, that believe that the real impact of coaching is not felt during the session, but in between, when the real things are being observed or actions are being done? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because if there is no action, it defeats the whole purpose. Without action, you will never achieve what you intended to achieve.
And do we agree that action can be many things, right?
Yes.
Yes, including thinking about the
it leads
thing.
to the bigger picture. If you can't take small actions, how are you going to take a bigger actions?
That's so
But I'm saying that
true,
the action
Coach
may not
Sumo.
necessarily. Sorry, Coach Sedi.
I was just echoing Coach Sumo's words there. It's so true. There's no point. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was saying that action may not necessarily be physical. It could also mean where you say that next time when you go into a meeting, please just withhold making comments until 1 hour has gone past. If somebody says, look, I find myself always speaking and I don't know how to shut up, And then you may say, do yourself a favor and maybe try to survive the next 1 hour of your meeting with your management team and your boss without talking and see what will happen. And that's an action, right?
That is an action. That action is specific. That action is measurable. That action is absolutely achievable. And in the next meeting with your managers, it's time bound. So absolutely, it also aligns with your SMART principles. But over and above that, even thinking and applying your mind to a certain thing is also part of the action. And I also wanted to say that as you go through the coaching and you are in the session, there's a lot of talking, there's thinking, yes, but a lot of growth happens afterwards as they reflect. Even though the coaching model covers reflection, but there's so much of deeper reflection that takes place in between. And that is also part of the action that the client also can benefit from.
Wonderful. Let's take it to the R.
And as I started to speak to the R,
Okay.
it's our reflection, and Tumi will take us through the R.
Okay. The R is the review stage. The review stage help both the coach and the coachee to reflect on what has been discussed and help that the contract has been adhered to and that hopefully benefits has been achieved. Usually I play back some of the key points from the session, reflecting on the contract's objective and what progress was made. I may also ask the coachee to review the session and ask if there is anything else the coachee would like to cover. So at this stage, it's a wrap up, but it's a very, very important stage because at this stage you will know what if the goals have been achieved.
Yeah, and it's important for both you, coach, and the coachee, because sometimes I've walked away from sessions, and if sometimes you are judging yourself as a coach, you wonder if the session ever made any impact. But if you do the stage R, you may hear some things you never thought they were raised, or you may hear some good news that you're sitting and thinking, today I'm not really at my best. And then the coachee comes and says, wow, what a great session. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, at this stage, you also want to combine the review with the checkout.
I wanted to say, is this part of checkout?
Yes, it's part of checkout. Because as a coach, you also will know if the session was achieved its goal or not.
So, Coach Timo, you will agree with me that irrespective of how little time is left, we should never jump this checkout stage.
The checkout stage is very important because if you jump out that, you and the coachee might not know for sure that everything was covered and to the level of satisfaction. Sedi?
Yeah, it's a very critical stage. Otherwise, the mind also feels like something is not closed. You know, it's still open. We are yet to complete this. So you definitely want to close out. Definitely want to reflect on the session what I have found very impactful was for me to use this stage and help the client to reframe their perspectives by sharing my observations, about how actually good they are doing. For instance, if they may have presented an issue of confidence and said, oh, I'm not confident and whatever, through the session, they would have said some things that will show some degree of confidence in the things that they may have done. And I want to take a moment here and say to them, in actual fact, when you said this, that, and the other, I actually would say that you already have the ability to be confident, or you've demonstrated confidence. Wouldn't you say so? And they can actually reflect and say, yeah, actually, yeah, I wasn't as confident as I may have wanted to be, but is there confidence? Yes, there is. And you want to also reinforce to them their abilities, um, and you just want to give the client some good commendation about themselves to say, some clients think that it's all lost, but it's never all lost. So I personally like to take an opportunity here to address the R as a reinforcement opportunity for the client. And I also want to invite the client to share what they have learned about themselves in the session. I ask them, what progress have they made? When we started, this is what you thought. Now, at the end, according to your action plan, according to what we explored, according to what we evaluated, this is what came out. Now, what do you think? And they can really see that they have moved. And doing that has made the clients to really buy into the process and to really believe in the process. And they love learning a lot about themselves as well. And they can say, oh, I actually have learned from this session that I'm actually strong, for instance. So that this part is a slower looking into the mirror and looking back at what we have covered, looking back where we've come from. And I really like it.
And the one important point we need to raise at the checking out stage that it's not only the client checking out, but both the coach and the client.
Definitely, yes. Agreed.
Yes, it's not one-sided. We are both checking out. In fact, we can also reiterate, like Coach Setumo said, did the coaching session meet your needs? So you can also reiterate what was aimed to be covered and assess if indeed it was covered. And that's how you close. You also close up.
Is it also a feedback session? A feedback moment for the client by the coach as to what the coach has observed, experienced, and felt during the session?
It gives the coach a feedback. Definitely, I agree. Without the review part, you will never know. If there's no closure. So once you do the review properly, you do the checkout properly, then you've got a feedback as a coach.
And the coachee as well.
And the coach as well.
And depending on how you structured your coaching offering, I guess some coaches are sharing with us that there and there they confirm the next session, something that I don't do because I separate my coaching and my administration. but I can imagine how valuable it is to confirm the next session there and there if you don't have separate logistics and administration support. How do you do it, Sedi?
It also depends with the kind of relationship that I have. What I always do though is say, in the next session, we will consider how you have managed to overcome XYZ, or we will consider how you effectively implemented your action plan. So
Please remind me of the next session. I'm now at line. Please remind me, when is it?
it's in your diary. What I can say to the client is by who? What do you mean?
No, I'm just trying to address a situation that there are coaches who don't have administrative support. Therefore, the schedules are all part of the contract. You have agreed on the days already. So what I'm saying is we mustn't assume that as we're closing this session, we are all aligned as to when the next session is. And then you might get a question to say, please remind me, when is the next session? And then say, oh, it's in your diary. That's like, you know what, you fool, don't you look at your diary. And that's how it may come across. You should be
but then you
having
might
it.
also be holding them accountable in doing that.
But I'm just saying that it's quite worth a while to come prepared to say that at the end of the session.
I think the best way.
Or you might say, let's open our diaries now, there and there.
Yeah, the best way, Sam, will be to say, in the next session, we'll be covering this and this and this. And that open up to say, by the way, when is the next date, you know?
No, but I'm saying that you and this client, it might happen that you don't have administrative support. And he wants you now to confirm because he has forgotten when it is. And now you haven't actually thought of. No, sorry, I'm just playing a devil's advocate, colleagues. I'm just trying to help to say, come to the session knowing when the next session is because the client may ask for it.
Yeah, if you're prepared, forearmed is.
But there's always a way out of it. I mean, I'm just having fun with you to say these little things add value to your professionalism in the eyes of the client.
Yeah, true.
That was nice, and it gave me a good tickle there. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. We are talking to Coach Sedi Manthoko and Coach Setumo Chiloane. They have been tasked by fellow colleagues from the Coaches Learning Forum to research the clear coaching model. We've gone through all the elements. It has been fun, but we are bringing in the application of it, and I think the input is rich. We are grateful for their hard work. This is Commercial Radio Podcast Live, and this was session number 5. And by the way, I need to remind the colleagues that session number 6 is with Coach George, if I remember very well. And just emulating what we have just said, I want to look at my plan here for those who are interested to listen to Coach George to check when is the next session. It's next week. It's always a Tuesday, a week until the end of this series, and that will be on the 11th of October. And Coach George will be taking us through the Oscar coaching model. I like it when he says, not the Oscar of the Oscar Awards, but the Oscar of the OSKAR. So, yeah. Colleagues, we have we still have 10 minutes to go. I want you to check out by a way of reflecting on the things that stand out from this conversation. Perhaps what was confirmed for you, an aha moment, and the learnings you have done also from doing this research. and how did you experience this conversation?
I'll go first. Yeah, as we were going through the conversation, I really got to notice how passionate I am about this model, and and I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and demonstrate that to my fellow colleagues. For me, this model is so user friendly. You can use it anywhere in everything, even in your personal life. You can witness with your family. Um, Once you have followed the steps, it becomes part of what you do. And if you miss a step, I find that I go back and I'm like, oh, did I allow my child to talk, and was I really listening? So it really does that for me. So it also it has given me lifelong transformation as a coach, as an individual. And the experience was amazing to do the research, to work alongside Coach Setumo, as well as yourself, Coach Sam, and really appreciate this learning platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Sedi. Coach Tumo?
Yes, yeah, indeed, there was definitely a lot of learning. It is a learning forum. My key moment is when we were reflecting on counseling and therapy and coaching. That also the input, Sam, you made, it really makes sense that as coaches we need to look in. Also to take issues where they belong. If it doesn't belong to coaching, you take it where it belongs. So it's a great moment for me. And also thanks for this opportunity. And Sedi, you motivated me and helped me to come into this session because I had some challenges a few weeks ago. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, we appreciate that, Tumo. I know you were pulling very hard, but I can feel the energy in you, the positiveness. That means being part of the session has also contributed in energizing you, I hope.
Thank you.
Great. And then Coach Dolores has got a valuable point to make there. Dumi, you can just mute yourself. She's saying that I usually don't talk about next session. I always want to savor the awareness and the learning of the session. What awareness have you become aware of on the session? Should I be talking about next session? I think I raised that issue because I've got a very, very interesting topic I want to bring in the coming year, the business of coaching. And in my other forums, we're talking about it is very beneficial to separate administrative work from the actual coaching if the resources are available. However, if the resources are not available, it's quite very powerful to contract and commit to each other as to when the next session is. Otherwise, if you have an administrative support, the administrative support is there. The scheduling normally is done throughout for the entire coaching program. And then month in, month out, you confirm them with your support, the administrative support. But you do come across clients who are battling, they don't have support or they are just overwhelmed, and you may want to simplify the process of confirming assignments, because we always say that if that is the case, then the coach must really manage their process. So it's actually situational. But I personally, I don't get involved. I don't even worry about that, because the administrative support will make sure that it happens and the client get reminded in time. And if there are changes, we all get informed. But that is a costly model if you haven't set up infrastructure and you can manage it this way. So that really, there's no right or wrong. Every coach has their preference in that regard. But what we need to underline is that 50% of our value add to our clients is actually administrative work. If you are burdening your clients with a lot of double booking and them having to look for venue and having to look for equipments you need, catering, if you're meeting face to face, it takes away the value that you are bringing into the development coaching itself. And that's why also in contracting, there's always two different type of contracts, even though they will be in one, but there's a section that deals with the administrative side. There's a section that deals with the actual coaching itself. And that you as a coach, that is one area you want to make sure that is not contaminated by too much administrative work. For instance, I will never ever raise issue of payment with my client in a session, or even calling them and say, you haven't paid me, because that is a killer of everything that you've given to a client. It's gone the moment you do that. And that's why you have to separate these two if you can afford it. If you can't, tread carefully, because you might be countering your own input. Another topic for another day, we are planning to have it in the business of coaching next year. Great. Thank you so much. If there are no any other input, I would like to thank you guys. It has been hot. It has been interesting. And I'm sure those who will follow up on the podcast will enjoy this conversation. Yes, that was the Commercial Radio Podcast Live. We are the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows, this particular one, the Coaches Learning Forum, is based on the principle of the idea. We inform and entertain. We develop and educate. We empower and support. We associate and network. That is the idea. Thank you very much. The podcast will be available in the next 24 hours. We encourage you to review it again and share it with many other people out there so that they can benefit from the same interaction we have had. Thank you very much. Take care and be safe. Goodbye.
Thank you.